Okay, hi guys. So I don't really know how to, what this video is gonna, well, okay. Sorry. Hi guys. I don't want to do a lot of editing for this video. I just kind of want to get it filmed and get it up. So I have a list of everything that I want to say when talking about this subject. But if you follow my Instagram, you know a little bit about, what I've been going through these past couple weeks. Just to, get into it, Cupid has suffered an injury and is no longer with us. It was extremely sudden. It was very traumatic. So this happened about 3 weeks ago now. And I've just kind of been, grappling with it before I can make this video, crying a lot. You know how much I cried whenever I left Charlotte, and that was just to go to a different barn, in the same area. I just knew I wouldn't be seeing her every day, and you know how much I cried whenever I sold Holly, and that was just to being sold to a different owner. It doesn't come near the grief and loss of what losing a life is like, especially a young, brilliant, healthy, fun, kind life. I also didn't want to film during my grief process, and I didn't want to film during the night that this has occurred, because it just didn't really come into my mind. It did, in the sense that I was like, okay, y'all have seen so much of my life and so much of my journey, and I've documented it all, but in that moment, that wasn't really something that I wanted to pull out my camera and film. I just needed to be in the moment. So I'm just gonna kind of talk here now about, what has happened. So basically, he got hurt in his field. And I don't really want to go too far into what happened. I will say that it was just awful. My friend found him, and you should never, ever have to see the insides or the bones of your horse or your animal or anybody that you love. It was really bad. He got his leg hurt, and I knew when she called me and she described it to me and she sent me a photo of what happened. I knew that it was likely too bad, It was just horrible. It was an awful night. We got to the vet, and okay, so how the events played out, he got hurt. My friend found him. She called me. Thankfully, they were able to get him on the trailer and get him to the hospital. I saw him at the hospital. I was able to spend some time with him. The vet gave me the prognosis, and I did have to say, a final goodbye that night. He couldn't walk. He couldn't lift his leg. He had a cast his entire leg. Okay, there were a lot of miracles that happened that night, or that evening. First and foremost, I'm extremely grateful that my friend was there when she was, because I have no idea how long he was there hurt, but it could have been a long time. And if he was there any longer, it was a very real possibility that he would have just passed away before ever finding him, just because, the extent of the injury. And so I'm glad she found him when she did, and she was able to call me. And everybody that I would have wanted there, that I trust their opinion, that I trust that they know how to handle a situation, was there. And these are just fellow boarders. So the fact that they were all there at the same time and able to not only communicate clearly with me with what was happening and kind of console me, but also help Cupid, was just beyond a miracle. And I'm so glad every single one of them, and their brains and their opinions and their just ability to handle an emergency situation like that, I'm so glad that they were all there. The next miracle was that I don't have a car here right now, well, at the time, because I posted about this on Instagram too. I was rear-ended and it was in the shop for like 2 weeks leading up to this. So I called up during this emergency. I either had to like take an Uber or find someone who could take me. And I called up my friend who I knew had a car and I said, "Can you please take me like to the barn? It's an emergency." And she's like, "Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad I canceled my dog's vet appointment literally 10 minutes before you called." And that right there was just like, wow, like I'm so grateful that she was able to take me and I wasn't in the back of an Uber, because obviously the whole way I was crying, I was making phone calls, I was, you know, mourning and also trying to handle the situation. And also on our route, they managed to get him in the trailer and we're like, okay, now we're going to the hospital. And so we had to take a detour mid-route and the hospital was an hour away. So in total we were driving for like an hour and a half. And I don't know how that would have ended up if it was like an Uber. I don't know if I could have asked them to detour me an hour away. So that was just a huge blessing. And she ended up staying the whole night with us until we were done. She stayed for a very, very long time and waited so she could take us home. And I was so grateful for that. She brought her dog too, because she had her dog with her, and it was just very comforting, you know, sitting in the back driving away, being able to at least like have a dog to pet, and because I'm sure y'all know the like support that animals can give you. The next miracle is that my friends that were there at the barn, they were planning on doing trailering practice with her horse, and so they already had the trailer hooked up and ready to go, like with the truck and everything, when they found Cupid. So that was a very quick process. They were able to be like, okay, let's get him on the trailer. They backed the trailer up into his field all the way to where he was and just got him up on the trailer. And that was a huge blessing. That saved so much time and just so much possibility. Like, what if they were busy? What if they weren't in town? You know, like they were already there hooked up. Like that was a huge blessing and a miracle. The last thing is I was kind of sad. I asked for a hoof print of Cupid. You know, they were gonna give me his mane and his tail, and that wasn't, a hoof print wasn't part of what they usually do. And I was like, you know, it's okay if not. But she said like, you know, we'll figure it out. And then when I went to go and pick up his keepsakes, they didn't end up having a hoof print, which, you know, I was like kind of prepared for it, but it was still a bit sad. I have Hollies, and I just really would have loved Cupids. But then the blessing I found is that just a couple days before, I got extremely clear photos of his hoof, because I was measuring his hoofs for hoof boots. So I have all 4 feet. I have, you know, I can outline them and make some art or something, you know, just to have that, because that's something else that I wanted. So those were, it was an awful, awful situation. Nobody should go through it. But in that situation, there were so many miracles that led up to me being able to have that moment and have that final goodbye and just get through it as smoothly as possible. You know, it wasn't easy by any means, but it could have been a lot harder to get him to the hospital, to find him, to, you know, what if we didn't find him? All of those situations. Now I just want to talk about how special Cupid was. He was a really sweet horse. I have no doubt in my mind that he was like a little angel from heaven. And every moment that we spent together was a gift from God. And he helped me so much. He made everybody happy. And he always had the title of the sweetest, kindest horse in the barn. And that always made me so proud, because I was like, that's my little boy, you know. But looking now, I mean, he was just so unique and so special and so kind. And he had just the gentlest personality. I never once worried when I was in my presence, when I was in his presence or bringing someone to meet him. I knew he was gonna just approach them so kindly, and it was so much fun. He was truly an angel. We didn't get much time together. I only had him for 8 months. But those 8 months, he did so much for so many people. He made so many people happy. And he helped me so much learn to just like trust. And I said this so many times, like so many things that I would be nervous about doing with like a horse, or like, oh my gosh, I have to brace, like my horse is gonna be like nervous about this. He was just so brave and so chill with everything. Yeah, like I completely trusted him, and he was just so unique, and he really helped me gain a lot of confidence in horses. And like I hadn't ridden like consistently since I had Holly, so it was about 2.5 years since I had like really like been in it. And so I was like a little nervous, you know, and getting him, just, he was so down to earth that he just like filled my soul. Like he healed any like strife or anger or anything that I was having in life. I went out to the barn and it all just went quiet because he was so centered and loving and calm, and just like he helped me a lot. He helped everybody. He helped Nick not be so scared of horses. He helped Ebony get used to horses, knowing that he would just stand there and she could help get adjusted to them. He helped Sarah have her first interactions with a horse, all the way to learning how to lunge him, and even ride him. He had his first beginner ride with less than a year being broken under saddle. He was so trustworthy, and I can 100% trust that he will take care of her and that they are safe. He helped Aubrey see different methods of bitless or patience and positive reinforcement training, how they can work, and how horses can be receptible to them, because he was so willing. There are little things that in a horse's body language you can pay attention to, and it'll really show you what they're thinking. And he was very good at expressing himself and being a good example. He was so funny. He had such a personality. One of his favorite things to do was take plants out of the ground by the roots and swing off the excess dirt, like with his head. And every time I would just get covered in dirt, and it would just be like splattering me with dirt. He even did it to the point we went to a show and I was showing him a jump, and he picked up the plant, like the decorative plant next to it, and he just held it in his mouth, and I was so worried he was going to start shaking it, and I was like, you can't do that, there's a pot under it. But he just held the heavy plant, and my friends were all the way on the other end of the arena, but he knew where they were sitting, and he just looked over at them and was like, hey, do y'all see the snack I got? Like, it's hilarious. And it made them laugh so much, it made me laugh. He was really funny. He also was just like a little baby horse, you know. He would pick up stuff with his mouth. Like, if you let him explore, he would just be like, oh, what's this? What's this? What's this? And, you know, he would get my hat and my sunglasses, and if I like just sat there with him in the field, he just wanted to know what everything was in the world. He would always come up to me in the field, and he'd always like look at me as I'm leaving, or he'd walk with me along the fence. Like, you could just tell what he was thinking, and it always was kind thoughts. It was never like, he was never stubborn, and he was never, you know, upset. Like, he just wanted to do right and to work with you, and he was just such a kind little baby. I'm gonna carry that through my whole life. Like, he taught me a lot. Like, I want to live every day brave like Cupid, and happy like Cupid, and kind like Cupid. and trusting like Cupid. So I'm really, really sad that it's over. It was way too short. He was such a beautiful soul, and he should have lived a much longer life, and he deserved that. He was only 5 years old. But I'm so grateful for the time that we did have together. And I do want to continue sharing. You know, I didn't get to share much about him because I was just kind of living life, you know, and I was sharing when I could, but I also did film more than I have been able to share so far, and I do still want to share those because I think that there is value in that. But yeah, thank you for watching. I know this was a long video. I just didn't want to have to edit this video, really. I just kind of wanted to get it up. Hug your animals a little tighter. Be grateful every day because you never know how fast something can happen. Thank you.